And we are on. Listen, the difference between you making hundreds of dollars and hundreds of millions of dollars comes down to the way you communicate, how you say the things that you say have more to do with the results in your business than anything else. On today's show, I'm going to roll up my sleeves and I'm going to show you how to become a better communicator. In fact, I'm going to show you how to become what I consider a master persuader. I'm going to give you 3 tools or ways of thinking about it. And then I'm going to give you my list of resources that's going to totally blow you away, along with the syllabus to get it done. Most of the resources, by the way, are under $20. EdTalks Live is next. Hey, what's up, party people? My name's Ed Rush, 5-time #1 best-selling author, your host for the most positive place on the planet for insanely implementable ideas. Today's show is how to become, actually really like how to start becoming a master persuader. Because the fact is, when you get good at persuasion, influence, copywriting, you're just, at that point, you just have a license to learn. In other words, you're just getting started. And I consider myself a pretty good copywriter. I consider myself a pretty good persuader. I'm going to give you in a second the actual numbers behind that. But you know what? Every day I'm sharpening that sword. Every day I'm getting better. Every day I'm trying to become more precise, more persuasive in the things that I'm saying. Now, what do I mean when I say good copywriter? What do I mean when I say good persuader or good influencer? I've had people come to me and say, you know, Ed, I'm a really good copywriter. And I say, so give me some of the results and some of the things that you've written. And they say, well, I don't really have much results yet. I'm just, I just know that I'm good at it. And that to me is the answer to whether you're a good copywriter. If you're a good copywriter, if you can show me, hey, this promotion that I wrote, this made, $1 million. This promotion I wrote made 2.7. By the way, I've got at this point, I think the number is 6 or 7 over 7-figure promotions under my belt. It actually might be more than that now that I'm putting some of the pieces together. And if I put all of them in, probably another 20 plus 6-figure promotions under my belt as far as the things that I've written. That's proof, okay? And that is the way you understand whether somebody knows how to write copy or not, okay? So in just a moment, we're going to jump into chat. Do me a favor, jump on the right-hand side on YouTube, below on Facebook. Tell me who you are, where you're from, what you do. In the meantime, what my team's going to do, I'm going to roll today. So I've got some stuff prepared for you that is extremely important. And I've got a syllabus written down for how I'm going to go through and teach it. So normally on the show, I jump in and out and say hello and chat and come back. Today, we're going to do a little bit differently. I actually have my team start putting the comments up as we go. That's just going to help me move through the material. My goal is to get all this in a shorter period of time, because the fact is, there's a lot of stuff, okay? And I don't want you to leave. Sometimes you can teach too little. Sometimes you can teach too much. And when you teach too much, this is really important, by the way. I do this with my coaching clients. I'll come in and they'll show me their online course, and I'm like, you got to cut like 30% out of that. Because sometimes when you teach too much, people start to feel overwhelmed, and then you don't end up taking action. So I want to give you enough to get your whistle wet just a little bit, and then to really start to dial it in. By the way, this training today is based on an email that I sent out last week. By far, one of the most popular weekly flight briefs that I've sent out. The website where you can read about it, if you want to just read as we're going along, is edrush.com/persuasion. That's edrush.com/persuasion. When you go there, it's going to take you over to an article on Medium. This is actually the article. I'm going to be bouncing through some of this in a little bit. This article is on medium.com. So the short link is edrush.com/persuasion. When you get here, if you wouldn't mind, by the way, I'm trying to grow my platform just a little bit on this website, Medium. Right on the bottom, there's a place for you to write a note or comment. That would be awesome too. Okay, so I'm going to go through some of this list because I wrote this email last week. This definitive copywriting and persuasion list, and man, it blew up. So I thought I would go a little bit deeper into some of the strategies and some of the teaching. So what I'm going to do today is I'm going to start with the approach. I'm going to start with the mindset. Like, how do you actually become a good copywriter? How do you become a good persuader? And then what I'm going to do is go into the resources. My goal inside of the resources is for you to pick one or two to get started and to start to learn, or you could do it through the Ed Rush method, which I'll explain what that is in just a second. Okay, so when I started out in business back in 2006, and by the way, a whole bunch of you just joined us. So let me just say hello and welcome. My name is Ed Rush. This is How to Become a Master Persuader. This is a show called EdTalks Live. We are live Tuesdays and Thursdays, 10 o'clock Eastern, 1 o'clock Pacific, for the most positive place on the planet for insanely implementable ideas. We've got a wonderful family in chat that you need to say hello to, and half the time y'all just start talking to each other instead of talking to me, which is totally fine. Okay, so I started in business back in 2006. And there was a guy named Bill Glazer who I was learning from at the time. Bill ended up becoming a very close friend. Bill and I actually did a mastermind group 2 years ago together. And to this very day, you'll see in just a couple of weeks, I'm going to do a promotion for Bill's upcoming summit. And anyway, we're very close. But back in 2006, 2007, I didn't know Bill at all, except for I went to his events. And eventually I was in his mastermind, but I didn't know him at all. And I went to one of Bill's events. And Bill, who at the time had just bought this company called Glazer Kennedy Insider Circle, had previously, I think at that point, he still owned 2 menswear stores. They were called Gauge Menswear. And Bill had used yellow letters like this to explode his Gauge Menswear stores into 7-figure operations. And he was teaching that day on stage about copywriting. He was teaching about how to write in such a way to get people's attention. And as he was teaching, he said, I was just laughing because Zig Ziglar was there. It's funny the things that pop through your mind. Zig Ziglar was speaking at that thing. There were 1,000 people there. My wife looked at me and said, he looked like he was talking to us the whole time. And I was like, man, that's a good speaker. You know, when everyone in the audience feels like he's talking directly to me. Anyway, Bill was there and he said, as a business owner, you either, and somebody write this in the chat, you either need to be able to write good copy or to recognize good copy, all right? Write good copy or to recognize good copy. Now, why recognize? So first of all, I've been marketing now for 14 years online. I've tried to hire probably 10 plus people to write copy for me. I still to this day write my own copy, okay? I've tried to hire over 10 different people to write copy for me, and I will tell you, maybe 1, 2 at the most have done what I consider an adequate job at it. Most of the people, when I got it, I didn't even use it. I started writing from scratch, okay? And that's recognized good copy, because what happens is sometimes you'll get something from someone and it's not very good, but you don't know that it's very good because you're not recognizing it as great copy. And I've done other shows, by the way, to talk specifically about copywriting. Like, for example, I think this is episode 55, Copywriting 401. You can always go back and watch that. Today, my goal isn't to like go deep into copywriting. My point is, as a business owner, you need to be able to understand what good copy is, or ideally be able to write it. Now, being able to write good copy isn't as hard as you think it is. It actually involves communicating directly to the prospect and talking about the things that they want, okay? So I'm going to go into 3 main areas, and then I'm going to get into the resources, and then we're going to wrap it up for today. Like I said, today will be a little bit shorter because I don't want to like dump a whole bunch of resources on you. I just want to give you some great stuff to get started with right now, and my team's going to be putting chat in as we go intermittently, okay? So I like you're seeing. So, all right, so the first thing is, when it comes to learning how to write copy, okay? There's 2 parts to learning. Actually, there's 3 parts, I would say, to being able to truly learn good copywriting. There's 2 ways to approach it. There is what I call the piece-by-piece method. This is the method that most people will approach their learning, right? So for example, I'm going to give you a bunch of resources in a second, which some of you have already seen. You may take one resource, read it, take the next resource, read it, buy an online course, start to go through that slowly. And over a course of a few years, you're just going to get steadily and steadily better, okay? Totally fine. Much more peaceful method is the piece-by-piece method if you want to. Okay, now, I'm smiling because the second method, some of you know as the Ed Rush method. I'm going to show you this article. I want to see option number two. Option number two. Just, I don't know if you can read this. Option number two, obsess. Buy everything on this list. In 2 days later, 6 Amazon trucks simultaneously back up into your driveway. Watch, read, and listen to everything. Skip meals, wake up early, stay up late, ignore your family, and grow a beard like Gimli. And then 3 months later, emerge as a master persuader. I don't know why I thought that's so funny, but that's basically the way that I did it. So when I started to learn how to do copywriting, I went online and I bought basically I bought everything. I think I'm not kidding. I probably spent over $10,000 in a week on copywriting books, training courses, resources. I mean, I had some of the old stuff, tape programs from Gary Halbert and John Carlton. I'm going to give you a Gary Halbert resource in a little bit. And so I started to learn obsessively, and I'm not kidding. I mean, I was obsessing about it. And then what I did, and I'm going to talk about this in the next point. What I did was I took that material and I started writing my very first sales letter. My very first sales letter actually is still online today. It sells something called the Basketball Officiating Success System. And what I sat down, I spent 2 weeks to write the sales letter. What I did was I sat down and I started writing benefits. You're going to learn the 5 most important things you need as an official to get to the NBA. It's a benefit, right? And I wrote over 100 benefits because I wanted to get good at writing and speaking directly to my customer. And from the benefits came the headline. From the benefits came the introduction. And then I had John Carlton, actually, who I paid at the time to review my copy, one of the best copywriters in the world. And then I ended up using that to create and launch a 6-figure business, okay? And so I went through the obsession method. Either way, it's fine with you, how you do it. But if you really want to get good at this, you could immerse yourself for a short period of time and flat out get it done, okay? Thought number 2 is on implementation over information, okay? This is why this is really important. We live in a culture that believes that once they have learned something, they have done something. Did you catch that? We live in a culture that believes that once they've learned something, that they've done something. So, not to be generation specific at all, but you will find people, for example, who are in their 20s, who believe that they have a wealth of experience of life and business, but they have neither. What they do have, however, is energy. So don't disparage the 20-something group. Hire them, train them, empower them, put them into motion because they've got a lot of energy. What they don't have is a lot of experience. But we have an educational system now that's no longer based on experience. So for example, long ago, we had an apprentice system. If you're going to be a blacksmith, you apprenticed. If you're going to be a banker, you apprenticed. If you're going to be a stockbroker, you apprenticed. If you were going to be a plumber, you apprenticed, okay? Nothing wrong with any of those employments. I'm just giving you a few examples, okay? And through apprenticing, you did 3 things simultaneously. The first thing is you saw the teaching of what you were doing. So for example, if you're going to be learning to be a banker, you would sit down and the person who's apprenticing you would explain to you the banking system about how money moves and the net reserve requirements and the FDIC and all those things, okay? The second thing you would do is you'd follow around behind the banker for a while, learning and seeing what that banker was doing. And then finally, you started to do those things while under supervision. Fundamentally, the 3-step teaching method that I just showed you right there is the best way to train anyone to do anything, anywhere, in any way. That's the way I learned how to fly fighter aircraft. I was taught something, I saw a demonstration of it actually being done, and then I did it under supervision, and finally I did it by myself. Okay, that is actually the best way to learn and to teach something. Our current educational system is step 1, right? So if you get a master's degree in economics, you probably haven't done any economics. You probably learned a lot about economics. If you get a master's degree in English literature, you probably haven't actually done English literature. You've probably simply learned about English literature. If you get a master's degree in physics, however, you've probably learned physics and you've probably done some of it too. See the difference? Okay, so in our world that we live in, we have a new generation of people who believe that they've learned something, therefore they've done something. Well, guess what? The market doesn't care. If you learn something, the market wants to know if you've actually done something. So my theory is it's better to read one book on copywriting and write a blog post using the techniques and tools you learned in that book than it is to read 10 books on copywriting, because the act of taking the material and putting it into implementation is what solidifies the learning in the first place, okay? So one of the books on the list that I'm going to give you is a book called by Dr. Donald Moy. And one of the things that I did, I'm going to go into this a little bit deeper in a moment. One of the things I did was take his book, and he had hundreds of spoken techniques that he taught people how to use words in such a way to persuade people. And it was time distortion, rebification, a whole bunch of things like that, okay? Deadlines and that sort of thing. So what I did was I took his techniques and I rewrote them for one of my products. Then I recorded them. This is like 12 years ago. I recorded them onto an MP3 player. Remember those? And then I looped it over and over and over and over and over again. And then at night I laid and I would sleep all night, 6 to 8 hours, listening to myself do these techniques. Well, now they come out just like that because I trained myself to be able to do those. So my step was, step 1, learn it from the book. Step 2, start to write it down. Step 3, record it. Step 4, listen to it. And step 5, walk up onto a stage and deliver it. And that's when the learning becomes complete, okay? So the second thing is implementation is better than information, okay? Now, the last thing, and this is actually really important. The last thing is everyone's a persuader, okay? Everybody's a copywriter. Everybody's a marketer. You know, everybody's in sales. Honestly, everyone is in sales. There's this like insidious lie going around on social media that's like, I'm not really a persuader. And the thing that cracks me up is that person actually has to persuade you, ironically, that they're not a persuader, you know? There's this like insidious thing that's like, persuasion's this thing that you do that salespeople do. But you know what? To get you to believe that persuasion is something that, you know, salespeople do, they have to persuade you. I mean, it's like it cracks me up, right? Okay, because anytime you're trying to get someone to think your way or do something your way or act in a way that you want them to, you're simply persuading someone to be able to do that, okay? So you go to the coffee place. When I go to order my wife's coffee, 4 shots of decaf espresso over ice with honey. Did you catch that? Decaf. Because if she drinks it without the decaf, her head will explode or something bad. All right, like for real, it's not good. So when I get there, I say, I order every normal drink first. I'll have a cup of coffee, regular coffee, black coffee. I'd also like 4 shots of decaf espresso over ice with some honey. And then he goes, anything else? And I go, you got the decaf, right? Oh, sorry, right? So did you see that? You got the decaf. Now, I come back around, the cup, I've tried this before. Check it out. I get the cup and I look at the guy and I go, decaf, right? Watch the reaction. Most of the time I'm like, yeah, decaf. Okay, cool. Sometimes I get this, and I'm like, try it again. I mean, you can just see it right there, okay? The question I asked at the Starbucks counter and the question at the end that I ask is persuasion. It's just influence. It's getting someone to do the thing you want them to do. Now, in this case, it just happens to be the coffee, okay? I have a 2-year-old. If you've ever met a 2-year-old, you know that getting a 2-year-old to do anything requires an immense amount of persuasion, skill, and acumen. Okay, I happen to be very good at it. And by the way, if you want to know, if you want to get a 2-year-old to do anything, start by laughing. You laugh, they'll do anything you want. You want them to get them to stand on their head, they'll stand on their head in like 4 seconds if you just start laughing. Okay, so that's the third one, which is every single one is a persuader. Now, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to open up my screen and I'm going to go into this article that I wrote on Medium, and I'm going to share some insights about the resources and the tools that you're going to find in here, and then And this will probably take 10, 12 minutes, and then we'll wrap it up. Like I said, today's a little shorter. I want you to leave with some nuggets that you can implement right away. All right, so check out the screen. My go-to copywriting and persuasion books. All right, so this first book here, I put it here for a reason as number one. This is called Scientific Advertising. It's by Claude Hopkins. The other book that Claude Hopkins wrote, and you can usually get these together, is a book called My Life in Advertising. Okay, so this is Scientific Advertising, which you can get for like $15 or 99 cents on Kindle. Okay, now Claude Hopkins was, every time I go backwards, it's going to take me. There we go. Claude Hopkins was an ad man in the late 1800s, early 1900s. So he wrote Scientific Advertising to describe the testing that he used to do on different ads, different magazine and newspaper ads, and different ad copy. He describes going into a beer distributor. And when he went into the beer distributor, he was trying to find different ways to describe the beer to the consumer. And he said, well, tell me about the water. And they said, well, the water comes out of this normal hose here in Cleveland or whatever, and then it goes into this filtration system. By the time it ends up out of the filtration system, the water is 99.9% pure, and it literally is purer than water that comes off of a mountain spring. And Claude Hopkins goes, wow, that is amazing. And the guy said, well, it's not really amazing. Anybody who makes beer has to have water like that, otherwise the beer won't come out right. And so Claude Hopkins wrote this sales letter about, I think it was Schlitz beer. Schlitz. And in the advertisement, he's describing this 7-stage filtration process where the water comes out so crisp and clear that it's like a cleaner than a mountain spring. And when he got done writing it, he was showing it to some people for their feedback. And one of the people reading it said, what do you think? And the guy goes, I really need to taste that beer. I don't think I've ever tasted mountain spring water beer before. The guy, and every single beer is like that. But like when he handed the sales letter to his friend, he wanted to taste the mountain spring water beer. So when I describe and talk about the products that I'm offering online, I remember how Claude Hopkins described the process of that crisp mountain spring beer water, to remember that even some of the more common things inside of your product can be truly uncommon. Okay. Now, my second resource on the list is essentially required reading. Okay. This is a book called Influence by Robert Cialdini. Robert Cialdini is a college professor, but he's most known for this book, and he's also most known, little known, I should say, for being the guy that Barack Obama himself brought in the back door, really, to help him become a better persuader. There was a time back in 2016 where Hillary Clinton went from okay at persuasion to really, really good. And the word on the street from some of the people who know, like, for example, there's a guy named Scott Adams, Dilbert creator, excellent discussion of persuasion, who believe that even Clinton brought Cialdini in. Now, all politics aside, Influence is one of the best, most seminal works when it comes to persuasion, influence, and copywriting. And the second book after that, I actually think is even better, but you should start with Influence. His second book is called Persuasion, and the introduction to that book will blow your mind. You could probably even read it free on Kindle. In fact, why don't I just pull it up real quick? Because I actually thought Persuasion was even better. Let me see if I can find it sitting here on his bookshelf. Yeah, there it is. Persuasion, a revolutionary way to influence and persuade. Cool. And you know what? I mean, I've got a persuasion course, which is awesome. Some of you have taken it, by the way. Write in your comments if you have. But if you want to start inexpensively, you can always just start with the books. You're not going to get the detail that you get in a course like mine, but you can start with the books. Okay. Resource number 3 and 4 on the list are Dan Kennedy. I'm just laughing. Oh, man. So I know Dan fairly well. Here's why I'm laughing. So a year ago, I get this text from like 3 of my friends, like simultaneously. And they're like, did you know Dan is in hospice care and he's about to die? I'm like, what? Dan Kennedy's going to die? Well, I knew he had diabetes and I didn't know what was up with his body. And I mean, 3 people simultaneously, because I'm very connected to that former inner circle world. So I was like, wow, that's crazy. So I went online and then I started talking to people and say, yeah, for real. Like I went and visited Dan in the hospital and everything. And so we all the people who were influenced by Dan Kennedy in one way or another started writing him letters. And they said the letters got there were so many, there were over 1,000, that his assistant, Vicky, would literally just sit there by his bedside in hospice care and read letter after letter after story about how Dan had transformed this person's life or this person's business. And then on his way to dying, he got better. I mean, like, I'm laughing because so Dan did like the last in like 2012, Dan's like my last event ever. And then the next 6 months later in 2012, he did like his last event ever. And then in 2013, he did like his last event. Remember how Sugar Ray Leonard retired like 7 times? So for real, like I think Dan was actually really sick and died, but now some of us think it might have just been a marketing ploy. And it wasn't. But if you know Dan, you'd know that would be the kind of thing he would think about. Okay, so Ultimate Sales Letter, I think, is probably the definitive sales letter book. Ultimate Marketing Plan is where you will find the most detailed discussion. Here's Ultimate Marketing Plan. The most detailed discussion of the 3 M's, which is market, message, media. Okay? So those are 3 and 4. Resource number 5 is the Robert Collier Letter Book. The Robert Collier Letter Book. It's a book about writing sales letters. And let me tell you, it's great. I mean, it's not on the list because it's great. It might be the worst named book for a copywriting book I've ever seen. I wrote in this article, I feel like that the Robert Collier Letter Book would be something that you would find in the Hallmark store or on the Hallmark Channel. But it's really good. Okay, it's a really good book. Okay. Oh man. All right, this is Unlimited Selling Power. This is number 6 on the list. If I could own one book, it would be this one. This is not for the faint of heart. I just bought a whole bunch of these. I think I'm going to give them to my mastermind members. I usually have 5 or 6 of them sitting around my office. In fact, let me see if it's even here. No, it's up there someplace. It's good. And I think Dr. Moyne is best with the spoken word. That's not what he's writing about communication. So in any medium, but I do know some marketers that paid him a lot of money literally for him to simply go through their slide deck. So super smart guy. Okay. And then the last resource I have on the list is Words That Sell. So Words That Sell by Bayan is, oops, hold on. I'm clicking. There we go. Words That Sell is more like a thesaurus. Let me see if I can look inside here on Kindle to show you what I mean by that. If you look, let's see if there's, this is all preamble stuff. Here we go. So check it out. See where it says grabbers? Part 1, grabbers, making the reader sit up and take notice. Teasers, free, absolutely free. Free gift, valuable gift, your free gift, free claim, send no money, risk-free opportunity, money-making opportunity, enclosed, inside, RE. This is just an incredible resource for, I mean, just for phrases like this. It's your bonus for ordering now, right? We've rolled back prices, trial, send the money now, send the payment now, send the money now, risk now. Okay, you get the idea. So, so it turns out to be more of like a thesaurus. So sometimes when you're writing, you're like, what should I say? What should I say? Or you've said the same thing 3 times and you want to find a different way to say it. Words That Sell is a great resource for that. Okay, and I love it. All right, now 2 online courses that I recommend. And by the way, we're almost there. So I'm going to wrap up here just shortly. So throw your last minute thoughts and comments into chat, and then we'll keep rocking and rolling. So the first one here is my own, look, when it comes to online courses, I've got some free resources coming up. My Secret Weapon Persuasion course is the course. I'm just telling you, it's awesome. I got a segment in there on how to not negotiate a used car salesman. I got a segment in there on how to win an argument. I also have Jedi Master Persuasion, looping the offer, ultimate 4-letter word, owning the ground, interrupting the program, and there it is. It's actually downloadable. Everything's downloadable. And you get a coupon code when you go to that article if you want to try it out. Okay. The second one is this course called the Great Courses. All right. So the Great Courses, check this out. So this is a course called Negotiating the Best Deal. And let me even see if this actually plays.
From the political life.
This is just like
people to accept.
There we go. So this is
things you already do well. You'll see the secret tactics that aggressive.
This is Professor Seth Freeman from NYC, or NYU, and you'll see it's like $250, $240. But check it out. When you go to the Great Courses, you could go over. Where is the membership? I can't remember where I found this, but I found like a secret hack into this. Oh man, I don't know where you're going to find it. Well, it's maybe not even on their website. You'll find it though someplace. So I found, oh, here it is. Here it is. Watch this. You can do this. I found this like little backdoor in. So you can do this. I think it's like a 7-day trial. And it's $20. Let me just put it this way. It's $20. And you can get access to all of their courses. Yeah, there's $20 a month. You can, or if you pay yearly, I just paid the $20 a month plan. Okay. Anyway, my point, there's courses on basically everything there, but I'm not a college course guy when it comes to business stuff. So entrepreneurship, sales, marketing, persuasion, communication, influence, copywriting. My experience has been like the guys who are doing it are the best, not the ones that are teaching it. Seth Freeman's course is amazing. Okay. And I rarely learn a lot of extra stuff on persuasion because I teach a lot of this stuff, but his discussion of negotiating a deal was incredible. And I even brought some of those things into relationships and it worked there too. Okay. So that's that resource right there. Quite good. All right. Now, 2 online resources that are excellent. The first one, like for real, you could spend the next week here on the Gary Halbert letter. Okay. Gary Halbert letter is a newsletter archive from one of the greatest copywriters of all time. Now, these are all newsletters. Okay. And look at all the things that are available on this. I mean, all these yellow ones right here are newsletters that he wrote. And a lot of them are him breaking down his sales letters. And I'll tell you, I don't think there's a writer better than Gary Halbert when it comes to marketing writing. My place to start, go to this ad. It's called his water ad. I think this is one of the best and most well-written ads I've ever seen in my life. And when you go here, he does another one where he breaks down why the ad works so well. Okay. And by the way, if you're like super easily offended, Gary Halbert's not for you. Okay. But if you like good understanding how good persuasive copy works, Gary Halbert is for you. Okay. So last on the list here is my friend Michael Fortin's blog. You guys saw an interview that I did with Michael last week. Really smart copywriter, and you should read his blog as well. All right. So those are the online resources. And then the last 3 things, and then I'm going to wrap up, is I did 3 shows on copywriting. Episode 50, which is how to keep, let me put, there it is. Copywriting 401, how to engage the audience and get more yeses, is my way to do it. I teach how to do it congruently, so it's not like manipulative and salesy and stuff. Episode 55 is about writing. So this is about book writing, but there's persuasion and influence in book writing. That's actually really important as well. And then the last episode is the one I did with Michael Fortin called How to Secretly Dominate Your Market. Okay. So all of these resources are available at edrush.com/persuasion. That's the website. That's free, by the way. It's my article. And my suggestion is go find 1 or 2. I don't even get affiliate links. I tried to get one for Great Courses and it took too long. Amazon, I don't have one. So like it's all, maybe by the time you watch this a month from now, they will be affiliate links, but they're not right now. All right. So that's my gift to you. Okay. So back to 30,000 feet, and then I'm going to wrap up today's show. Your ability to make money has to do with your ability to communicate. Your ability to communicate needs to improve. The way to improve that is to read great books, to listen to great podcasts, watch great articles, and to constantly be learning. But you have to simultaneously put learning next to doing, right? So if you're just learning all the time, all learning with no action, you end up exactly where you were. But taking something and placing it into action can make a huge difference. So for example, when you get into my persuasion course, which you're going to end up getting one way or another, I mean, it's the course that you want. I make my modules short, 10, 20 minutes long, because what I want you to do is get in, take one of my strategies, and then go do it. So for example, I have a technique on how to use pronouns pronouns to be able to communicate more effectively. Well, that you can mix right into your daily language. You can practice it long enough to where all of a sudden you got it and you started to figure it out. All right. So more doing and less, a lot of learning, but more doing as well. Okay. Now, the last thing I will tell you is next week. So I've got some guests lined up for you. So first of all, Joel Weldon's coming back. If you remember, Joel talked about speaking, totally blew it out of the water. So I invited Joel to come back. I've got Bill Glazer coming very soon for the show. I've also got Michael Haig coming back. I've also got Marquetta Breslin coming back. So I've got some great guests lined up for you for the show. So go below. By the way, just a comment on Medium would help me if you're willing to just give me a little. I don't ask much for stuff like that, but if you do that, that would be meaningful for me. Send it to me too, and I'd love to just say thank you for that as well. All right, so we're gonna wrap up today. Like I said, I wanted to give you some good stuff. Get in, get out, so that you can go implement. And my team and I will just say hello in the comments and also in chat. So thanks again for your time and attention. Don't forget, I love you and I like you, and you've got a message that's going to change the world. So you might as well go do it. I'll talk to you soon.